All right, we got another edition of Conversations with the Cultured Athlete. I have New York Giants, that's your New York Football Giants multimedia producer, Mike Becton, is in the house right now. Got the scruff going and everything. I'm not used to seeing you like this, man.
This is rough, man. Not being able to get to the barbershop at least once a week is rough, man.
But at the same time, with you being shooter, editor, this is giving you time to work on, I would imagine, many other projects and still be able to do the Giants thing at the same time as well, right?
For sure. You know, the requirements are still there, though, to produce Giants content. You know, social media doesn't take a break, especially not right now because everybody's home. So they're looking for that type of content to come out. You know, the draft is coming up. So it's still a full day as far as Giants stuff. And editing and trying to, you know, produce some sort of content for the people. But, you know, once I'm done with that, then you look towards side projects and, you know, working on new music and screenwriting and things like that. So for sure.
And we're definitely going to talk about your music, your writing. We're going to definitely get into that because, I mean, one of the themes of the Cultured Athlete, you know, me and you, we've known each other quite some time. When I got my start with Giants TV, you've been right there. You've been very instrumental in helping me develop with my on-camera persona and my on-camera brand. And that's what I love because you're part of the sports culture. I feel as though you're bigger than the athletes when it comes to sports culture because you are presenting us in a light between the video, between you coming up with creative concepts and photos. So I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to first get into the journey. Because I went back. There's some things about you I didn't know. I went back on that Google and found out you actually, when you went to college, you wanted to major in electrical engineering.
I did.
So I'm doing my research, Mike.
Yeah.
How do you go from that to fast forward to today, putting out fire content for the New York Giants and your brand as well, your personal brand as well?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, I played ball in high school.
Yep.
And so obviously football was always a passion of mine. When I got to Morgan State down in Baltimore, I went to electrical engineering because, you know, they told me that was a field that would be very prosperous for me once I graduated, you know, financially, and the opportunities that were there for that were huge. But, you know, after my freshman year, I realized that just wasn't it for me. I wasn't going to be passionate about it. You know, I do believe that, you know, I would have been successful just because I work hard at anything that I do. But, you know, I was in my dorm room one day and watching ESPN and I said, well, you know, maybe I can, you know, work in sports some way. Maybe I can go work for ESPN one day because I am passionate about football. So I opened up the little catalog that they give you as a freshman with all the majors in it. And I kid you not, the first page I opened it up to was television production.
Wow.
And literally the first page. So once I saw that, I looked at that as a sign, you know. I was like, all right, let me go speak to the counselor and see what this is about. And, you know, my sophomore year, I started classes in production. I fell in love with it, man. And again, I was looking for opportunities to combine my passion of sports along with now what I was doing in college. And I did my research, and there was an internship for the Baltimore Ravens open up for the 2008 season. And, you know, obviously I sent my resume in. They brought me in for an interview. And the 2008 season, I was one of only 2 of their interns for that season. So my workload was pretty heavy for an intern. And, you know, at the time, I didn't even know this was a job. I didn't know people did this for pro teams, you know. And after that 2008 season, man, I was like, okay, this is it. This might be how I can find my niche in. And, you know, it worked.
And I also read that you worked with the Baltimore Orioles as well.
I did.
What did you do with them?
So, you know, like a lot of different cities, the market is pretty small for this type of career path.
Yeah.
So people that I knew at the Ravens obviously also knew people at the Baltimore Orioles. And their season was just starting as ours was ending. So they were looking for camera ops and editors and things like that to help with their season. So basically, I ran cameras for their game day presentation, and I was able to edit a few features for their onboard presentation and also for their website. So I did that for about half a season, and that was basically until I graduated from Morgan. Graduated in 2009, May of 2009. And I'm a New York kid, so I had to move
Yeah.
back home.
Had to get back home.
I had to move back home. So
Some about them bright lights, huh?
man, 4 years in Baltimore, I was like, I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go home, bro.
Yeah, I love the crab cakes, but I gotta get home, man.
Exactly.
I gotta get home.
Exactly.
So when you got back to New York, is that when you started working with thisis50.com?
Yeah.
Kind of explain how that happened.
So obviously, I knew that once I graduated, that I would be looking for opportunities back in New York. It's also, the biggest media market. So I was looking for opportunities to do something back home, back in New York. Thankfully, I wouldn't have to look for an apartment and all that other stuff because I had family and friends, and my girlfriend was up there and everything. So I had an opportunity to not worry about housing, which is big.
Which is huge.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I was also into the music scene. During college, I was a campus rep for the magazine, and I did stuff for Def Jam Records. And whenever an artist would come to campus, I would be right there with my camera, capturing the footage, and I was send that to the record label, and I would send that to the magazines and whatnot. So my resume was already featuring not just football now; it was featuring music artists. Mm-hmm. So when I saw an opening for This Is 50, I sent them my resume, and they were like, look, man, you already are around what we do already. You know what I mean? So they were like, you know how to handle yourself around music artists already, and you would be the perfect fit. So they brought me in just as an editor to start, giving me some footage here and there. But, I took that and ran with it, man. I started shooting, B camera on music videos. I started shooting 50's concert because he was doing a tour at the time, his shows and things like that. So I was around G-Unit a lot, for the 2009 year. So I was working with them for a little bit, yeah.
Hey, I read you got a couple chances to talk with 50, kind of pick his brain.
Yeah,
what type of mastermind is he? Because we're seeing it now. The dude is everywhere. And what kind of things did you pick up from Curtis Jackson?
Well, one thing about Fifth, man, is that he's a hustler. And I mean that in every sense of the word. He looks at every opportunity as just that, as an opportunity. Yeah. And I think we all know his story and what he's been through. And I think when you go through a life experience like that, and near-death experience, nothing else scares you.
Yeah.
So you're not afraid of taking chances. You're not afraid of making investments that may not pan out because what you've seen, you've seen the end of the road, and you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that that's the advantage that he has over a lot of people, and what makes him great, because he's not afraid to take chances. Yeah. And he just has that mindset of just, I'm never going to stop. Yeah. You know what I mean? And even when I did see him, he was still in passing. He was on the go. All right, cool. I'm going to come to the office. I'm going to work on this. Now I'm going to go to the next thing. I'm going to go to LA, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go there. So I definitely learned that, if you really want something, you can't be afraid to take chances.
And when you're saying that, is there anything career-wise that has been like a near-death experience for you, to where you're like, you know what, I was down to my last. So the next time I get a chance to submit a resume or shake a hand, I'm giving it my all. Can you kind of take us through that story and take us through how you triumph from that story as well?
Well, I mean, I think like any kid who's graduating from college, man, like that's the scary part. What do I do next? You know what I mean? I just spent the last 4 years of my life working on a craft, and you're saying that I don't just walk into a job, because even with the music industry, I was lucky that Fifth was working on an album at the time. Okay. But when you're working in the music industry, if someone's not working on any music, what do you have to do? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what type of content are you producing? And it wasn't a full-time gig. It was like, look, if we got something, we'll hit you up with it. So imagine, 4 years of your life moving back to New York. You don't want to fall into that, oh, he's back. He's back in the hood, or he's back. What was that 4 years for? You know what I mean? So there were a couple of sleepless nights, man, where you're just like, I don't know what my next move is going to be. You know what I mean? If 50 decides like, all right, I'm done with this website, or I'm done with this, now where am I? So, you definitely have that. But I sent my resume to the New York Giants and to the New York Jets. Literally, there were no openings listed or posted or anything like that. But because of my experiences with the Ravens, I said, well, there's two teams locally from where I'm from. So why not just send my resume and see what happens?
Yeah.
And by the grace of God, man, like, my resume got to the right person. And they called me and brought me in, and they said, well, your resume is, it's strong. Why are you available? That was a question I got. Well, you know what I mean? Like, what's wrong?
It's like when you see a beautiful woman in her 30s, it's like,
why is she single?
Why are you single right now?
Exactly.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Too good to be true. Keep going. Sorry.
Exactly. No, that's exactly what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they sat me down, and luckily the vice president of the broadcast department in Baltimore knew the vice president here at the New York Giants. So he backed up my resume. He backed up what the hard work that I put in and the recommendation. And they offered me an internship, obviously still not, full-time or anything like that. And living in Brooklyn and traveling to New Jersey, and that gets hard, man. You know what I mean? It gets hard for minimum, wage, because it's an internship. So, there were a couple of nights where you're like, you're getting home at midnight, and you're like, is this worth it? Am I doing the right thing? Should I be focusing on another area of of the industry or whatnot? So, but you just got to stick with it and work as hard as you can, and hopefully it pays off.
It's funny. That's because when you say that, when you were talking about that drive from Jersey all the way back to Brooklyn, and it's from minimum wage. At that point, going back to my athletic, background, when I was in the CFL with head coach Mark Trestman, he used to say guys would tell themselves a story. So you're telling yourself a story like, oh, I'm going back and forth. I'm only making minimum wage. They should, man, I should be head shooter, and they should. That's when a lot of people tell themselves that story, and for a lot of people, they end up quitting or they don't continue to go. What was it inside you that made you continue to push and be like, you know what, I'm going to get that head job, or I'm going to land a salary job with this organization?
Well, honestly, man, it all boils down to like where I'm from, and like I said, I didn't want that. I felt like it was embarrassment if you move back to the hood after you went to 4 years of college.
Yeah.
I feel like I've always had this saying, be great. I mean, you've heard me say it before. And
got a song out.
Exactly. I've always wanted to truly like be great and do great things. And I know a part of that is just not giving up. Nothing's going to be easy. You know what I mean? Nothing's given to us. Like, literally you have to earn everything that you have, that you want. And I've always wanted a better lifestyle for myself, a better lifestyle for my family. Unfortunately, my dad passed early, so he wasn't able to give us that lifestyle. So I took that responsibility on me to try to, produce that for people. So I used my family as a motivation. At the time, I didn't have a daughter, but, I knew that, moving forward, my family would be the reason why I need to keep going. And honestly, also, people around me, people that mean something to you, when they're impressed by what you do, that's added motivation. You know what I mean? When your mom or your sister or, whoever, your little cousins come up to you and they say, oh, you work for the Giants, or you do this, man, that's cool. I want to do that too. You know what I mean? That's a huge motivation for me to keep going. So
it's people going to have to learn to tap into whatever it is that's in them. Like we all have, like you're saying, your family, your daughter, you have different, your neighborhood, where you come from. You're not going to quit. So other people who may grow up in a different lifestyle than you, that motivation that lies within them is from something else completely different for them. So they're just going to have to learn how to tap into that. Now I want to get into your music, man, because obviously I love music. I love your vision. I love your creativity. How can you be creative with your personal brand, but at the same time, toe that line with your corporate brand?
It's tough. Inquiring
minds want to know, you know?
It's very tough, man. I started music. Actually, my first song I did was actually during college, and I did it as a way of, it's almost like therapy. It's my way of, some people write, some people do whatever. That was my therapy. A way for me to speak to the people I grew up with without speaking to them, for them to listen to it, and for me to just get my thoughts and feelings out. And sometimes that can come off a little aggressive, but at the same time, I realized that, like you said, I am a creative, and when you're a creative, you have several different ways of expressing your creativity. My creativity is not limited to video editing or video producing. It's not limited to screenwriting. It's including screenwriting. It's including writing lyrics and producing music and things like that. So my creativity expands, far beyond what I do professionally. And I got to a point where it's just like, look, you have to accept me for who I am. You know what I mean? I do my job and I do it well. But once the polo and the khakis come off, I go back to who I am on the other side, and I deliver there too. So, it's a fine line. It's a very fine line. But at the end of the day, I'm a creative, and I'm going to create in different platforms.
But when you see the new generation, when it comes to that fine line, a lot of the time I see this new generation come up. A lot of them have that idea. I don't care type thing. Like, you're going to accept me for me type thing. So if you have, because you are a boss I see you with the Giants interns, grooming, teaching in a way. So you're a boss in a way because you're delegating their work. If you have someone who you can see is an individual, pretty comfortable with themselves as an individual, but struggling to bring that individual creativity to a corporate setting, what type of advice could you give to one of these up and coming producers, shooters, editors?
Well, the thing is, our lives are multifaceted, and you have to be able to adjust based on the environment that you're in. And that's just anything, the same way that you hang out with your boys and your friends is not going to be the way you approach any job. The way that I am with my daughter is not the way that I am at work. You know what I mean? Everyone's life has different environments that you need to adjust to. And at the end of the day, that's basically the approach that you have to have. When you are here in this 9 to 5, this is how you carry yourself. When you get home, this is how you carry yourself. When you're out with your friends, this is how you carry yourself. But at the end of the day, you're still representing yourself. So you shouldn't do anything that's, going to affect your character and how people judge you, but you can also still be yourself in those environments.
Yeah, that I don't care mentality was like
so
early 2000s, 1990s. It's crazy.
You're not getting far with that type of attitude, man.
I got people that tell me like, oh man, you're so corny. Like, I see how you are. Like, you're like, no man, come hang out with your boy. Like, I'm like, bro, I got 401k. I've got healthcare. I've got what do I want to go be so wild for, And I'm still trying to tailor myself to be London and Brandon London, the on camera host. So I want to talk to you because, man, you've seen a lot. I mean, you've seen a lot just being through the NFL sidelines, being around guys like Odell Beckham Jr., Eli Manning. Give me just a crazy story and production. Something to where, one, you were like, I've arrived, like, wow, now, and two, it's like, man, this guy O or this guy Saquon. This is like a rock star environment. You guys are like TV rock star type guys.
Yeah.
As an athlete. Get some stories.
My I'm here moment
Yeah.
was actually the Super Bowl 46. And it took a while because I've been working for the Giants that was my third season, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9, 10, and 11. So after the 2011 season is when we won the Super Bowl. And I think about it a lot because even during the game, I still was like, I was in work mode. I wasn't paying attention to it. Cool. It's another game and I hope we win and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And when we won and I shot all the reactions and whatnot, and now we're kind of like almost breaking down to go, back to the press conference area and whatnot. And my mom had ran down to the front row of the stands.
Yeah.
And I ran over to her and, we hugged and all that. And I was like, yo, like, I made it to the Super Bowl and I didn't even have to put on a pads or helmet.
No pull
That's
hamstrings on
crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was that moment when when you take your mom to the Super Bowl and then you guys win it. Something that clearly I had dreamed about my whole life. Never in a million years thought it would be in this aspect of it. And, covering the game. But
for sure.
That was my, okay, you made it moment. Like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Because even then, like every day you fall into a routine and you start to question, like, is this the right path that I'm supposed to be on? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And that moment was like, yeah, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
I'm here. Oh yeah.
Exactly. Even if it's not what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm doing it anyway.
Now, story with the athlete.
Oh man,
rock star athlete.
You know what? I always reference back to my European trip with Odell.
Yeah, I knew it.
And Victor Cruz.
Yeah.
It felt like it was a month, but it was really only like a week and a half. And I flew over to London first for a few days, and I was with Cruz, and we were doing, a bunch of different stops. Obviously they're trying to expand football and, in London and whatnot. So we're in London and that was like crazy in itself. But then when I got to Germany, man, we did Munich, and Odell had a autograph sign, like a signing at a clothing store. And, we thought, okay, we're in Germany. Like there might be, a couple
fans.
Yeah, nothing crazy. Man, I mean, we couldn't get the car through the crowd. Like It was, honestly, it felt like a Michael Jackson type moment, man. Like people were out there because I had forgotten that he was on the cover of Madden. Obviously the catch and all
the hair,
this stuff. So,
the dance,
everything. And mind you, I'm out there as a camera guy, and I have another crew with me.
Yeah.
And it was so insane that I had to keep the camera in the car. And I was working as basically his private security at that point. Yeah, wow. I didn't even shoot at the signing. So when we finally got the car up to the entrance, we were like, yo, how are we going to get him in here? So I left my camera in the car and I said, oh, just follow me.
You had to push through, huh?
Had to push through. We pushed through.
Eli Penny, you were a lead blocker. You were a fullback.
You was a fullback on that one. And then even once we got into the venue, there was, unfortunately there was no one there to really coordinate. So I'm moving people out the way. All right, you take your picture, move out the way.
Wow.
There's this video of me trying to get him back to the car.
Yep.
And I escorted him back to the car through the crowd. We're pushing people, whatnot. This guy gets on top of the car.
It's on top. I remember that video.
Does the whole selfie video, people chanting OBJ.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was probably like the biggest, like, okay, this is
rock star moment.
This is a rock star lifestyle, man. And not to mention, and people don't even realize this, so we were maybe 15 minutes away from the hotel.
Okay.
And so we pull off. Now, of course, I'm watching everything. I see these group of kids on these bikes, and they're trying to follow the car. Now, we're on a highway. They are following the car. So finally, I say, look, man, like these kids are following. Like it might be easier if we just pull over you snap some pictures with them, you
And
know,
then then take
and let
off.
them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So
yeah.
literally, we pulled over on the side. They popped out. They wanted to take pictures and everything. They start crying and whatnot. Again, another rock star moment.
Yeah.
And we get in the car and we pull off, and that was it, man. So yeah, rock star for sure. Yeah, it's different. It's a different
Man.
lifestyle, man.
Yeah, I watched that video, the one you were talking about, when he stood up on top of the van. I probably watched that video about 15, 20 times in a row.
Yeah.
Just because it was like, it's an American football player.
Yes.
Shutting down the streets of Germany. Yes. And when they say football over there, it ain't our type of football. It ain't our type of football.
Man.
And if he's shutting it down, unreal. So kind of closing this out, Mike, where are we in the state? And where are we in the state of the culture of sports right now? Where do you see sports going in terms of not only production, but on the field, the off the field, the marketing, production, everything? Where are we in the state of the culture of sports?
Well, I think people are really starting to see how important sports is. I do. I think people are noticing that because sports is a getaway, right? At the end of the day, we all know sports is entertainment. It's really no different than movies or TV shows or anything like that. Sports is entertainment. I think people are realizing how much sports gets their mind off of their day-to-day lives. For the guy that was looking forward to baseball season and, that getting away from the office midday to go to that 1 o'clock Yankee game or, hoping to see LeBron at 9 p.m. when you get home and settled in, people are starting to see that. So I think that's why it's such an emphasis on how can we still make sports happen, even though people are quarantined in their houses. Right. And I think we'll see it. I think we'll see it with the draft. I think the NFL draft will probably blow out the numbers that it's ever gotten, viewership-wise.
You think that?
You think so? I do because I think people are home.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah.
Two, it's really the only current sport happening. It's not the actual game, but it's breaking news. It's not reliving something else. Mm-hmm. So I think the numbers are going to be great. I think they're going to find a way to get us back in the arenas and the stadiums without fans.
How would you shoot it? If the NFL called you and was like, NFL, NBA, MLB called you and was like, hey, you're running point man on this in terms of the production. No fans. You're gonna have no fans in the stands. How do you give us great content? How do you give us a great show as fans if you're the production coordinator for this?
You know what, man? I would take the stance of what the XFL was doing. The access, because at that point, I would offer full range access. I would offer the bench reactions and interviews with the coach not mid play, but mid quarter, and I would offer full range access because that would change the whole delivery of the game.
Yep,
that would change everything. I think it would be a little weird for the players. without that crowd factor.
Yeah.
Especially with football. I think basketball is easy, right?
Basketball would be easier.
Basketball is easy. We can go to the rec center and do a pickup game and you still have you'll be intense with it. Yeah. Football is a little different without fans, man, because without crowd noise and things like that. But I think at that point you have to, just give access to the fans somehow. Whatever that is. And I think the XFL did a really good job of that before they, had to close down. So I would just take a page out of their book.
It's funny because the NFL, video games, a lot of productions took a page out of the XFL's book the first time around.
For sure.
And now because of this, it looks like it's going to happen again to give the fans what they want. Mike Becton, I appreciate you giving the fans what they want on this one, man. You're dropping gems. Please let the people know how they can find you on social media, what musical projects you have coming up, also the projects in the sports world as well.
Oh, man, the website, horsesbrooklyn.com. All my handles are horseisbk. I'm working on new music, right? As we said, we're in quarantine, so I've been writing. Hopefully put out a new project as soon as this is over. And, just staying busy, man. Just staying busy as much as I can.
Last but not least, because a lot of people hit me up and they're always like, "Hey, can you get me on with Giants TV? Hey, can you?"
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the Giants TV aspect out of it. Period.
Okay.
You know, just for a kid that's coming out of high school or college that's hungry, sending in that resume, the reel, the EPK, all the edits.
Yep.
What's the best way for them to break in and get the attention of the guys like producers and multimedia producers like you?
It kind of goes back to how I got my start. You know, it's sending your information in.
Okay.
And now that we have social media, you can let your work speak for itself. You know, putting your work and examples that you do on your pages. Because one of the things that I find like interesting is that so many kids, they'll hit me up on IG and say, "Hey, you know, how can I get a start with it?" I'm saying, "Okay, well, email your resume to this email address, and also your resume reel." You know, you can't just post one video on your page and think I'm gonna watch that and be like, "Okay, this is the guy." You know what I mean? You have to take those odd end jobs, man. I'll give you a quick story. My resume reel was not just like I took the initiative to shoot those musician appearances at school. I took that initiative. You know, at the time, no one else was doing that. I used to lock myself in the edit suite at school. Literally, I used to sneak in. I hope nobody from Morgan State is watching this, but I used to sneak into the edit system and lock myself in there for the whole day and just try out new styles and new things that I could then put on my resume reel. So, you know, people don't want to do the small jobs. Get with your friends, shoot a music video. If you know you got a friend that like to play basketball, go shoot that. You know, give me a stylized feature with that. Put that to some music. Let me see different types of ways that you can edit and put things together. You know what I mean? Like there's always something that can be shot, you know? I took my daughter to the park a few months ago and I took the little GoPro camera. Actually, no, I shot it with my cell phone. I shot my daughter in the park with my cell phone. I edited a whole video to that and cut it to music. That's literally just my cell phone. So, you know, just opening themselves up to different ways to do, you know, the craft and learn and expand. I think that's how you'll get the attention of a producer.
Yeah, man. I know that was me being a bad interviewer, asking me a follow-up question after we're supposed to be closing, but so many people hit me up. So now when someone hits me up, I'm just going to clip this and then send it over to them because I'm like, I don't have no juice.
They resume reel got to be on point. You know, that's it. I'm not saying you got to have 6, 7 jobs before you get to this point. All I'm saying is you got to have the work. You know what I mean? Like, because that shows also work ethic and how determined you are to get where you want to be. You know what I mean?
So, # do the work, man. I appreciate the conversation, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. See you soon, brother.
All right, bro.